imagine myself not as blood and muscle and skin and bone, but as a source of pure strength energy.
So, it's about pride and being strong, but they don't see it that way.
For that one day, for that one moment, for those 3 lifts, for those 9 times that you have, those 9 attempts, you come up, you step up, and you deliver. If you don't deliver, that's on you.
You have to be in attack. You have to want to make something happen at all times. When your regular life is got to be more mundane, and you don't have to do that in the gym. You can be yourself.
Powerlifting is an external view of how pissed off I really am at the world.
If all my training's gone well, your nutrition's good, you're healthy, then there's no reason why you should miss a lift while you get to the meet. So it's just confidence.
With a sport that is as deeply rooted in individual achievement as powerlifting is, most outsiders might think that lifters would be at each other's throats at all times, and power meets should be a hostile environment of extreme competition and aggression. But nothing could be further from the truth. All powerlifters understand that from the newest novice in the sport to the most elite world champion, you have caught the iron bug.
Many people that start the sport, they get what is called the iron bug. And you get bit by the iron bug, you're in it for life.
The people who decide to take up powerlifting come from all walks of life.
Powerlifting is a sport for everybody, and it isn't just the biggest and strongest.
I'm a maintenance worker here at Sandusky High School.
My job is reading utility meters.
Athletic director, real estate developer.
I cook food for a living.
Project manager, I work at an agricultural bank.
I serve subpoenas and pick up records.
I own a commercial printing company.
I'm a sports performance coach at the University of Buffalo.
I own a gym and I do a lot of personal training.
I worked in metal and construction all my life.
Anybody can powerlift. My 12-year-old son powerlifts. There's women out here powerlifting there's men that pick it up when they're 50 years old and do it for 20 years. Anybody can do it. And that's a beautiful thing about the sport.
It is an equal opportunity activity, and you just look at the contest results and you'll see it. There's people from every walk of life and every category you can imagine having fun with it.
It doesn't matter where you're from. Throughout the world, we're all brothers, and we all get along and we support each other. When that person's on stage, everybody here is to support that one person.
It's a great sport. It's very intense, and on any level, you have that wealthy lawyer who, for some reason, wants to do a powerlifting meet. And then you've got the one that is locked in the box except for meet day, and you let them out together and they can get along. Whereas if you were out on the street, the one out of the box probably would eat the lawyer.
Sports that are not in the mainstream tend to attract athletes who reflect the alternative sensibility of their sport.
It requires almost a madman mentality, single-minded madness.
I just started thinking everyone around me hates me, and it's like ready to get in a fight or something. I'm just gonna, and the bar is the enemy, and I'm gonna attack it.
I try to stay calm because I get out of hand. I can't act right most of the time, so when I'm there, I just try to stay focused on what I do.
I'm very, 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 very intense on the platform, and I think that people wouldn't guess it because I'm always so happy and smiley, and everybody says how nice I am. And the minute I walk up to that bar, I'm just violent.
Scream out, strong. Strong! I know, as loud as I could. And that was all I was. To me, that was all I was.
In my
I was
career,
strong.
The weight was an enemy, and I had to fight it, and it was like, it was a confrontation. And then that stopped working for me.
Everyone's different. Myself, I'm a little more calm and reserved until right when I have to lift.
I was kind of laid back and easygoing. Inside me, I was ready.
It's really not a matter of intensity. It's a matter of acceptance and focus.
One man whose personality is just as legendary as his lifting is 6-time IPF world champion, Kirk Karwoski.
Yeah, a lot of people, Eddie especially, like to say that I'm one of the wild or crazy ones.
Oh, jeez. He's a nut, man. When he has an audience, oh, man.
I'm on a mission here.
Kirk's a good guy. He's just a little crazy.
He is just as outgoing in private as he is in, here on stage.
Kirk was just coming on the scenes, and I'd started helping him back then. And we were both in the same meet at the Senior Nationals.
and I took a squat of like 986, and I just missed it. I was in a 220-pound class. He was in a 275-pound class, and he tried 1,003 and missed it. So he came up to me afterwards and said, "Ha, I missed more than you did."
That's the best squatter of all time.
Captain Kirk Karwoski is the greatest squatter to ever live.
Everybody is killer nice to me, and it blows my mind, all because of what I could do underneath a barbell.
Watching him squat is amazing. Watching him bench is amazing. I mean, his intensity in the sport is just awesome to watch. It's awesome to witness.
I don't know what it is in common, because we're all very, very different, but I don't know, maybe it's holding your breath while you're squatting and it pops a few gaskets and then we all start thinking the same. I don't know what it is.
It's a brotherhood that stays, you know, and of course it's a brotherhood that stays because we recognize each other for what we are committed to.
Like most powerlifters, Scott Cartwright is fanatical about his sport.
For me, when I go into a meet, I want a PR, I want a personal record. I don't care who's in the meet, who I'm competing against. If I don't walk away with some sort of personal record, it's a failed meet.
Being a software salesman and the father of 3 active children, Scott has to fit powerlifting into his schedule, whatever time that may be.
The kids have an activity after school. I will typically go work out at 5 in the morning on my own in the garage so that I can be there when they get home from school.
Not only does powerlifting afford Scott the opportunity to have a healthy and constructive hobby into his 30s and beyond, it also provides him with a positive release for his aggression and daily frustrations.
I'm pretty pent up before I get to the gym. Yesterday on the way to the gym, I had a slight altercation in a convenience store.
Come on now, let's go.
And I think that was one of those situations where I was fired up to go to the gym.
Come on now.
Someone said something inappropriate and didn't think a guy in a tie would punch him, so I was ready to go to the gym.
Here in Modesto, California, at the USPF Central California Powerlifting Bench Press and Deadlift Championship. As Scott gets ready for his first bench press attempt, a rare and disturbing injury occurs to his fellow competitor, Mike Womack.
He had his own spotters, and he decided he wanted his own spotters. He actually called a couple other guys that were helping him with get his shirt on and helping him with his warm-ups and stuff. And then a couple other guys, one of them was a good friend that he trains with regularly. The other guy was somebody he saw at the meet and grabbed him and wanted him to help. Well, that wasn't a good thing. So he got the lift off, came down, and started back up and got out of the groove, and the bar started coming over his face, and you could see it, just he was losing it. So the one spotter on the right side caught the bar, and the other spotter was not even there. He was totally 10 feet away. And he just walked away. I think maybe his thinking was that the other regular spotter was going to step in, but he never coordinated that, didn't think about it. He just completely walked away.
I bombed in the bench, and I can't figure out why. Sitting over there, and all the guys I came with trying to help me out, and we've analyzed it, but it was a combination of things. It wasn't my day. I wasn't strong enough today. Got plenty of. Walked up to the bench. My first attempt, my left hamstring cramped up. Which kind of throws off your base when you're benching. And then after my first attempt, the guy following me got hurt. The meet was delayed about 30 minutes and maybe more. So I went up for my second attempt, which was literally 40 minutes or more later, and my right hamstring cramped up and I could never get a base, and it's not my day.
The injury to Mike Womack, did that affect you at all mentally?
The injury to Mike Womack, this is the first time in powerlifting I've ever seen someone get carried off on a stretcher. But no excuses. This is why we lift in a meet. You can do whatever you want in the gym, it doesn't count.
The new breed of bench-only and push-pull lifters has opened powerlifting up to a fresh crowd of athletes who prefer to specialize in 1 or 2 lifts. It has also given older powerlifters, who can no longer squat or deadlift, the ability to continue competing. The powerlifting purist will tell you that to be a powerlifter, you must get a total in a 3-lift meet. But in recent years, powerlifting has developed hybrid meets that either cut the squat out altogether and only have bench press and deadlift, or they only have the bench press alone. This new type of powerlifting meet has caused some dissension in the sport, mainly because many purists think that the squat is the cornerstone of powerlifting.
Now, if you don't squat, are you considered a powerlifter?
No, you're not a powerlifter. Powerlifting is the sport of squat, bench, and deadlift.
That would be like saying a guy who's a punter in football is a football player. Okay, using that analogy. Or a designated hitter is really a baseball player. They're specialized.
There's just something about getting underneath the bar and feeling the weight on your back and just and looking straight ahead. You see nothing. You see nothing but the head judge, and everything that's going through your mind is just what you've done to prepare for that. There's something about the squat that's just, it's the first lift, it's the most intense lift, I think, and there's, it's just, it's amazing. It's just you and the bar, and every time you walk underneath that bar and you feel that weight on your back, it's like a adrenaline rush.
You can't call yourself a powerlifter if you don't squat.
Why?
That's part of it. It's the bread and butter lift of powerlifting. That's the lift for strength. You know, everybody's always running around town, how much you bench? That's a universal question. Nobody even knows anything about squat.
I did a exhibition squat at the Special Olympics to kind of motivate some of those lifters, and there was a girl there who came up in a walker. She comes up in a walker. She can't walk. They take the walker away. She squats 90 pounds. And how can you ever complain about a squat after you see some little girl who can't freaking walk squat? And you go in a gym and you see these bench-only guys complaining about their knees so they can't squat. Here's a freaking girl who can't walk, who's squatting. Squat. Ah, damn. I'm getting pissed off thinking about it. What we say the other day? Benching is like soccer. Everybody can do it. That's why it's popular.
I would like to see more guys go to the bench only and do it for a little while and try to bring up some of their other lifts and then move on and get into the full thing, because I don't really think you're a true power lifter unless you're doing all three. It's like you're doing one aspect of it. You're not going through the full meet like everybody else is. But I do think it's awesome, and I do respect the bench only guys.
Those three lifts, I mean, you can't be weak anywhere. You can't be weak anywhere. You've got to be a fully strong human being. So the best power lifter in the world should be the strongest total person.
You got to squat. You know, the squat, I think, is the key lift for every sport. If you squat, you're going to swim faster. If you squat, you're going to jump higher. If you squat, you're going to run faster. If you squat, you're going to curl more, because it just develops overall body power. So you got to bend those legs.
Benching is great. Deadlifting is fine, but if you don't have the squats, you can have upper body strength, great. You got a little bit of leg strength, you can pull it off the floor. A lot of times deadlift is a lot of form and how you do it. Or balance. The squats is what's the power, the strength. But if you can't squat, what's the use of powerlifting?
Well, for all you powerlifters out there that think that being a specialist is not powerlifting, you're wrong. You're basically wrong. And the bottom line is, I mean, I don't squat and deadlift because I don't want to.
I wouldn't tell somebody they weren't a power lifter because they would only bench press or they only benched and deadlifted. But what the hell is wrong with squatting? What, are you afraid?
The biggest misconception about the sport of powerlifting is that it is only for the elite athletes and those who can lift world-class weight. Everyone who is now at the top of the powerlifting mountain started out as a novice lifter and had to feel just as awkward and doubtful as anyone does walking into a gym for the first time.
I was never afraid walking into like a regular little gym, and I mean like a spa in those days. We're talking 70s. But when my husband and I went to Power Unlimited, which was Ron Morris's gym in Santa Cruz, and we went and talked to him. We'd made an appointment. We were so excited. And he said, well, go on upstairs and just get dressed. He had the upstairs, had this bathroom. And then you look down, everything is wrought iron. I mean, it's just massive equipment. So we both go up and change into our sweats and come out. And neither one of us wanted to go downstairs. We were like, oh no, we cannot go down. There's monsters down there. But lo and behold, we became the monsters.
The truth of the matter is that every man and woman who has any desire to be healthy or increase their strength can be a powerlifter.
The core powerlifters in the, you know, as far as like on a worldwide level, are seemingly normal people. Do you know what I mean? That you might not even look at and just think they're like a regular old Joe, but they use powerlifting to keep the competitive spirit alive. You know, it's a timeless sport. You know, people play golf from the time they start until they're dead practically. Powerlifting can be the same way. Most people know that, but there are guys that are 60, 70, 80 that use this sport to stay young and mentally in their mind. You know, it just keeps them going.
I think I got interested in powerlifting because it was individually based.
I started, probably in college. I was a high school football player. Did a little bench stuff, but not really strength sports. And then at the Naval Academy, which I went to school, they had a powerlifting club. And during my senior year, that's the first time I got exposed to strength training.
Back in high school, I was about 135 back then, and I was squatting 285 with just a belt, no wraps, no nothing else, and most of the guys couldn't do that, and I was benching about 165. And our football coach walked in and he saw one plate on each side, and all of us, was going to give the guy a bad time until he turned around and walked to see that there was a female on the bench.
In my city, we didn't have no powerlifting. I never heard of it before. And then a few years later, my strength and conditioning coach, he brought it back up again. So I said, I got to jump on it. Let's try it.
I started powerlifting when I was 17. I started gymnastics when I was 5, and I quit when I was 17 because of injuries. And I had this guy in my class saying, hey Mari, you can't just sit on your ass and get fat. You got to come to the gym. So he brought me to the gym, and 3 months later I won the junior nationals in powerlifting in Norway.
I actually went to this small town to work as a student. I didn't have anything to do, so I joined the local gym. And that's when I found out I really didn't know what I was doing. And so when I got back to my hometown, I looked in the phone book for a hardcore gym, and that's the day I met Rick, who's my coach and my boyfriend.
I'm like a little fat kid in like the 3rd grade, and I started asking for barbells, and they're like, you're nuts. Finally at 12, my grandmother hooked me up with a set of barbells. My mom was pissed. I opened them at Christmas. I knew what they were. Rest of my presents, this was like a Saturday, rest of my presents out to Wednesday.
Elite lifters are not afraid to share advice with novice lifters because they know what it is like to be new to the sport.
Just train your butt off, make sure your nutrition is good, and technique. Technique.
Technique is the number one thing that lifters need to know first before they're developing their strength levels. They need to develop their motor skills, and more times than not in the sport of powerlifting, the reason why lifters fail their lifts is because they've not developed these motor skills.
The form and the technique are not there just for you to get the weight and not just for you not to get hurt, but it's also to develop the proper muscle and the proper symmetry.
Find somebody who has a clue on what the sport's about and can train you right. It's hard finding people that can train in powerlifting. Don't go to your football coaches or your wrestling coaches because they don't know what powerlifting is about. Go out and find somebody, go to a couple of meets, and you can look around and you can see somebody who knows what they're doing and talk to them. Talk to the guys at meets, and they'll probably let you know somebody in your area that has a clue, and do it that way. So do it right.
Learn from everybody. For a beginner lifter, learn from anybody and everybody. There's so many different ways to train now. There's so many people getting stronger off of different programs, different methodologies, and all I can say is just learn, take every little piece of information and try and find what works for you.
Start off light. Don't try and find out how much you can do. It's not time. You need to put some time in before you go heavy. A lot of reps, high rep sets, be careful. Always have a spotter. Always use your collars. I know that sounds pathetic, but it's true. And if you can, get a good training partner, keep them. And the very most ultimate thing, if you can pull it off, videotape your workouts and watch what you're doing. Somebody else can tell you what you're doing wrong, but as soon as you see it, you can change it.
At first glance, outsiders to the sport might think that to be a success in powerlifting, a lifter needs to be born big and naturally a strong person. But powerlifters come in all shapes and sizes.
I'm a 198 lifter, and you have all the way from 132s, even 114-pound weight classes to super heavyweight. So anyone can do it.
To be for the big guys you see in the magazines, anybody can get on that platform and lift. Because when you're on the platform, it's you and the bar. I mean, you do compete against other people, but you're also competing against yourself. So it is for everybody. If anybody that likes lifting and likes, pushing themselves past the limits.
There are very few strength sports in the world. The two most well-known are bodybuilding and the modern strongman competitions. Ironically, the most dominant competitors in both sports attribute much of their success to powerlifting. If you were to walk into a gym today, you would see a division between the bodybuilders and the powerlifters.
Powerlifters respect bodybuilders who are really strong. And there are a lot of bodybuilders who are not. I mean, it's a different mindset. It's subjective versus objective. And it's amazing. We do some of the same exercises. We're in the same facility, maybe at the same time, but the objective is much different in each athlete's mind.
A regular bodybuilder, man, you know, they're like, I guess they'll be like a sports car, you know, because you use a sports car to drive around to impress everybody and stuff like that. But when you really want to do something, if you want to have a family, if you want to haul something, you go and you get a truck, you get an SUV, you get an excursion. See, that's how I feel about that. I'm an excursion, the bodybuilders, Ferraris, Corvettes, you know, those little cars like that. If they get hit, they'll damage. If you hit me, I'm not going to damage.
A lot of bodybuilders that I know look much more muscular and bigger muscularly than a lot of powerlifters, but powerlifters can lift more weight.
This pseudo-rivalry is a contemporary phenomenon. There was a time when both sides were combined in the Iron Brotherhood.
I thought it was just a wonderful camaraderie. I didn't feel a tension there at all, at least in my memory. And I liked, you know, you had the George Friends and the hammer throwers and the weight people and the Hal Connollys and the Peanuts West and Steve Marjani and all of these guys in one room at one time, including all the bodybuilders, the Zabo Kazuskis, the Joe Golds. It was just a wonder. God knows we didn't know it was the golden age, but it was.
All rivalries aside, most bodybuilders will tell you that to be a true success in their sport, powerlifting movements are essential to putting on muscle mass.
To build a strong foundation, you know, you gotta have basic heavy movements, such as the powerlifting or the deadlift, squats, and bench press is like one of the strongest, best basic exercises you can achieve, you know, for a really strong foundation.
Well, it's important whenever you're building a physique to lay down the groundwork, to lay a foundation down. And I believe that powerlifting does this very efficiently. You know, with the basic moves, your squat, your deadlift, your bench press, you build power in all of the regions of the body, you build mass in all the regions of the body, which you can then define and sculpt later. You know, so I think that powerlifting and bodybuilding really go in tandem.
Kevin Nee is the youngest strongman competitor on the circuit today. He attributes a lot of his success to powerlifting.
In the world of strongman, you kind of need to incorporate some powerlifting into your routine. So I mean, basically, as long as I've been in strongman, I've been powerlifting too.
As you can imagine, the benefits of powerlifting reach far beyond benefiting other strength sports.
Powerlifting movements are the basis for training in just about any sport. You know, you can take powerlifting and you can use that towards football, you can use it towards baseball. It's just the basic building block of training.
I've trained boxers, basketball players, football players. It gives you a base of strength in all your any sport you're in.
Every sport that we have, from tennis to rowing to wrestling, everything that we have is based off of those lifts.
The whole thing's golf right now. So you get stronger faster, you hit the ball farther. You know, it takes strokes off your game. Because they say Tiger Woods benches 350, which I say is bullshit.
It helps me in my shot put and discus, you know, having the strong legs, of course, and then being able to, you know, have the upper body strength as well.
I won the NCAAs in college in the shot put. I was a 70-foot shot putter and also played in the NFL and football, and I think that the powerlifting was pretty much everything. I mean, it helps your speed. My speed was the same at 290 as it was at 350.
Fred Otis Amy is a professional football player for the San Francisco 49ers in the National Football League. Undersized for an NFL receiver, Fred had to rely on his quickness and strength to get him into the NFL. Fred attributes his quickness and strength to powerlifting.
Even if I'm standing straight up on a route, I get down into that squatting position when I'm breaking down to get in and out of the routes. So I'll be running, break down to the squatting position, and then explode out again. So the squat helps for anything you're doing on the football field.
People are going to be realizing, hey, I'm doing powerlifting. Maybe I can't play football anymore, but I graduated or something like that, or went into a new situation, but I can still train and compete in powerlifting.
So
How long are you going to keep powerlifting?
Until they drain my blood out and fill me with embalming fluid, I'm going to do this.